Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back. Welcome in. It is our Wednesday edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. And I hope you make sure you turn that heat on last night. A crisp and cool 30 degrees as you make your way into work, into school, wherever you may be headed on this Wednesday. It is indeed Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond. We're with you till 9 a.m. And if it is a Wednesday, that means it is the college football season, and that means we are right out of the gates with the one, the only. I'm sure he is still feeling the loss. The one, the only, Grady the Greek, joining us now like he does each and every Wednesday at this time during the college football season. Good morning, Grady.
Morning.
Good morning, Grady. How are you?
Good.
Well, what did you think, man? Are you recovered yet from the loss?
No, not at all.
No.
I understand, man.
No.
Tough one.
No. All right. We've had a lot of experts on this week. We've had a lot of great people, but I want to get our fifth grader prognosticators' thoughts on the game. Your thoughts on how Alabama played?
Terrible. Not very good.
Mm-hmm.
But
you did predict
simple.
that Bryce would play well, which he did.
That is simple right there. I mean, we've broken it down on all kinds of fronts, but a fifth grader's a prognosis or a diagnosis is good. All right, Bri. All right, Grady. They're moving on this week. They got Mississippi State at home. Do you feel better about this week?
Yes, sir.
What's your prediction, Grady?
Alabama 41, Mississippi State 21. MVP Gibbs.
Oh, okay, so you like Gibbs to get back to work. Well, I mean, is there? Are you picking? It's just one game this week?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, this one's at home though, right? So it should go a lot better.
Are you? Are you going to be? Are you going to be going to the game, Grady?
No.
You will not be in the house.
You're still. I can sense it. You're still upset over you're still feeling the loss.
Well, they've never lost to Tennessee since he's been alive.
Yeah, I know. You're still feeling this one, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, who are we going to give the shout out to this week?
Shout out to my buddy Eli.
Okay, we've given Eli a shout out before, haven't we?
Yes.
Okay. Stay warm. Enjoy school.
Yes, sir. Y'all too.
All right. That's our good bud Grady the Greek in there, and he's a boy of little words today. Still kind of feeling stung by that Tennessee loss, but nonetheless, he has Alabama getting back on the right track, 41-21.
Doesn't have them covering
against Mississippi
by about a
State.
point and a half. 41-21 got Gibbs being the MVP, and so we'll see if Alabama bounces back.
Now, you said getting Gibbs back on track. Was he not on track on Saturday?
No, I just said I think that's not what I meant. I just said he just thinks Gibbs is going to once again produce.
Okay.
I mean, the Alabama was a drop pass away, even with Mo, Larry, Curley, and Shemp robbing them of winning the game. If he makes that catch, I mean, if you look at the angle, they might have been able to trip him up, but he would have made the first down, and Alabama would have assuredly run the football. They would have been within about 40 yards of a field goal. They would have made Tennessee use their timeouts. Now, if he makes the guy miss, they score a touchdown.
Right.
And then there's going to be 20-something seconds left. It would have been hard for Tennessee to score another touchdown unless they threw like 3 flags. And with that crew, who knows? Because the more you watch the play with Kool-Aid and McKinstry, it looks fixed. I mean, that's just all there is to it. He threw the flag 30 yards after Kool-Aid was 30 yards down the field, and then they decide to call pass interference. That clown should never referee another SEC football game. And to be honest, this crew should be suspended for as bad as they were. They were absolutely an abomination.
All right, so the Athletic has given out grades mid-term. They've used in their beat reporters to give out grades to college football teams around the country. And Aaron Suttles, who joins our show quite a bit, has given his grade on Alabama in the Athletic. And his grade is a B- for Alabama at this point in the season. And he says the team has everything it needs to contend for a championship with high-caliber quarterback and an experienced defense. But that defense just gave up more points than it has since the early 1900s. No other way to put it. So far, this team has been a disappointment from what we thought it would be.
It was in the Tennessee game, but the thing is, and I think I know where Aaron's kind of going with this, it's been uneven because there's been a couple of games. Well, in one of them, you kind of have to put as an outlier because if Bryce had played, Alabama would have blown Texas A&M off the field, but he didn't play, and so they had 4 turnovers. So that game offensively, you kind of have to throw out almost, even though they still had 400 yards of offense, 399. They still moved the ball.
Right.
But you have to kind of throw that one out because he didn't play. Now, against Texas, yes, they didn't have a great offensive game. Bryce had to save them, but that's kind of where it's been uneven because I felt like until this past Saturday, Alabama's defense had played well, and it had. I mean, when you look at the stats, they had the number 1 defense in the SEC. They hadn't given up, massive amounts of points to anybody. They hadn't given up any big plays really, because Nick Saban was talking about it during the week in the press conferences, and then on his coach's show, and then of course on his Thursday call-in show. Just talking about how they had not given up explosives. This is the first time they gave them up was against Tennessee, and so that's going to be kind of where the rubber meets the road. I mean, you can say they've been disappointing because of the defensive performance against Tennessee, but until then, the defense had they won the Texas A&M game and they won the Texas game because they stopped Texas for the majority of the second half until the offense was able to make enough plays, and then they were really. The whole Texas A&M game, because of the turnovers, had their backs against the wall, but they did make the stops at the end. So it's been a little bit uneven. And then you can even say in the Texas A&M game, though they won, the kicking game was a disappointment because Reichert missed 2 field goals that would have put it away. And then he misses the field goal at the end of the Tennessee game, even though I'm not blaming Will Reichert. It's a 50-yard kick. I mean, that's not an easy kick. It's a makeable kick, but it's not a guaranteed kick. It's one of those that's probably 5 out of 10 maybe.
Oh, yeah, your percentage drops.
Yeah, but what I was going to say, they made 2 other mistakes in the kicking game against Tennessee that helped lose that game. The muff punt, which was Quandarius Robinson, because, Kool-Aid was saying, Peter, get away from it. He thought it, obviously, to me, the way he reacted, he thought it hit Kool-Aid, so he decided he needed to try to field it. And then the shank punt, which gave Tennessee the ball at the 35-yard line, which against an offense of that caliber,
giving them a short field is not.
You're dead in the water. So what's going to be interesting is how the team responds. Now, offensively, they played well against Tennessee. I still say that. When you look at the third down numbers, they were nearly 50% on third down. Bryce played great coming back from the injury. The only thing you can, just a little bit of complaint is they didn't rush for as many yards as maybe you anticipated, even though, and mainly that's the fourth quarter where they could have put the game away because Jahmyr Gibbs, I think Travis Reier said he had 2 carries for 3 yards. So he didn't do a lot in the fourth quarter on the ground. And so, again, and some people are irritated with Bill O'Brien's play calling. But, again, he put the ball in the hands of Bryce Young. I'm never going to complain about that. So it's been an uneven performance. So I can see Aaron Suttles giving him a B because they've had a defensive game this past week where they weren't very good. And then I've had offensive issues in a couple of games. And, again, I'm sure Aaron's still grading the Texas A&M game because you have to grade the whole picture.
No, you do. You got to grade everything from game 1 to game 6.
And Jalen Milroe did turn it over.
Or 7.
And then in the last couple of games, the kicking game, there has been mistakes. And really, let's not forget, even though they won and covered or whatever, they had a couple of kicking game disasters against Arkansas with the onside kick that they allowed, and they snapped the ball off the up back. and give the dang ball at the 4-yard line. So in all three phases, this is why I don't disagree with his grade. Even though Alabama's only lost one game, they've had issues in all three phases.
Little
so
things,
they've
yes,
got to clean it up.
All right, Richard is with us on the phone lines this morning. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to take up for them like you said. The refs didn't help, but we made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
I think some of it is unlike the East, which Tennessee is in the East, is that the SEC West, everybody's kind of improving and moving up. Not Auburn, but they will. We'll have a new coach, and I guarantee you they're going to spend a lot of money on a staff. But you don't have room for error in the West. I mean, usually you might have 2 or 3 teams that were just you could play like Georgia did against Missouri and get away with a win. But State's good now. Ole Miss is on an upswing. LSU's got a real coach now, and always has had talent. And they're going to bring talent in. And Jimbo may not be the best coach, but he sure can buy talent. So, to me, it's just you almost have no room for error. Then you go, you play at Texas, and of course, one of our standard opponents is Tennessee. So we got a little bit lucky with Vandy, but we don't get Missouri and South Carolina. And I guess the good thing is the West is going away in a year, I guess 2 years, whenever they do the new
2025. They came out yesterday. The Big 12 did. The Big 12 commissioner came out and said that Texas and Oklahoma have come to an agreement that they will not leave until 2025 to come to the SEC.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, a lot of times we would play a tough LSU team, then basically sleepwalk through State and win 24-0 out. But if you try to sleepwalk against State this week, you're going to lose.
Well,
it's just a.
And I'll just say this, Richard. I do think this. I think you're right. I said it in Atlanta that the SEC West was Alabama, and then everybody was kind of in a wide. And it still kind of looks like that to me. But I will say what I'm going to be interested in is Alabama already, lost Bryce Young for the majority and still whipped Arkansas pretty good. And I thought Arkansas was going to be a top 4 team in the SEC, and they have struggled because of their schedule. Because we did say their schedule was brutal.
Oh yeah,
big win though for them this past weekend
to go
on the road at BYU.
Yeah,
that was a big win.
And they got
for
their
them.
quarterback back.
Yes.
See, look, man. A loss is a loss. You have to play with who's available, but a lot of the reason they got throttled by Mississippi State was they didn't have their freaking quarterback.
Well, look at it. I mean, I know it was the turnovers, but Alabama struggled against Texas A&M because they did not have Bryce Young.
Yeah, when you don't have your starting quarterback most of the time.
It is a huge, huge
Alabama is just fortunate that they have enough talent that they were still able to beat Texas A&M and overcome it. So, but what I'm saying is, here's what I want to see the rest of the year, because we've already seen Tennessee just go to LSU and just absolutely just throttle them. So what may end up happening, and I've already warned it and said that I underestimated them, and Vince Ferrara talked about everybody did, really, because they didn't even the Tennessee folks didn't see this. But I think that it's Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia in the SEC as far as – I'm not saying in that order. I'm just saying the 3 best teams. And I want to see if because LSU right now is a top 2 team top 3 team, top 3 team in the West, and they've already gotten smoked by Tennessee. And so I'd like to see how, potentially, and that the others match up with them, and we'll see. But I like LSU Ole Miss does not play Tennessee. I'd like to see that, but I'm still not convinced that Ole Miss is a great team. I think they're a good team. Now,
right.
Well, I mean, if we get our buddy our Kentucky buddy, Kentucky should have beaten them by 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly. They should have. They were kind of like Alabama against Tennessee. They made enough mistakes where they should have put that game away, and that was a road game. That game was in Oxford, Mississippi, and Kentucky should have won that game. So,
tell you what, Scott may be a buyer for Bill O'Brien. I did see where a poll that some people wanted him gone, and I kind of want to go, who do you want instead? But Scott might want to buy Bill O'Brien there.
Look, let me tell you what, Alabama fans, you want to get rid of Bill O'Brien? I'll give you Brian Ferentz.
Yeah,
I will give. You think you have a bad play caller and a bad offense under Bill O'Brien? You have not seen anything until you've seen a Brian Ferentz offense. So you have it really good. At least you're modern.
Scott, what was it 2 weeks ago? The other team they got a turnover or something on like the 35. They got a punt or something. Basically, they ended up with a turnover and made them punt from like the 1 yard line, and they ended up losing like 8 yards on the 2 drives or something.
Yes, exactly, that was against Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a 9-6 loss. A 9-6 loss. Iowa got the ball. They held Illinois, backed up on their own goal line. They got it like on the 35-yard line and managed to run 3 plays and take themselves completely out of field goal range. Not because of what Illinois was doing, just because it was bad offense.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we sort of dismissed it and haven't really paid attention, but it just shows you fit at a school, Brett. And of course, we'll see if he can keep it up, more than 1 or 2 years. But Brett Bielema is doing a heck of a job at Illinois.
Yes, he is.
I mean,
one thing
just
too
quietly.
Is if you're on the west side, it's a little bit like the East and the SEC. You got a lot of winnable games. With Wisconsin down, Nebraska down, Northwestern down. You got several. Fairly easy wins if you don't go. You're not. Depending on how many times you have to play Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State. But like I said, if you're on kind of that western side, you got several. Easy games out. So.
Yeah, I mean, basically this year, take away Tennessee and Georgia out of the East. If you took away those two, that's basically the rest of the remaining teams. That's the Big Ten West this year.
Well, yeah, I
take
still,
away Georgia and Tennessee, and you got South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Florida. That's basically your Big Ten West.
Well, and so
year.
far, I'll be honest with you. Of the SEC East, it's a 2-team division because I think Kentucky has underachieved. Some of that's another quarterback injury because I don't think Kentucky loses to South Carolina without Will Levis. I mean, if they had Will Levis, I think if they had their quarterback, I think they lost to South Carolina because they didn't have their quarterback. So Alabama's the one thing you can laud Alabama for is they're one of the few teams that's been able to win a game without their quarterback. These other squads that have lost their QBs have struggled.
All right, Richard. Richard, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, Richard there. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline.
And let me tell you
morning.
this, totally, as good as Tennessee has been.
Right.
And I am not wishing this. I hope he stays healthy. And right now, I think Matt Zenitz of On 3 Sports National reporter, he even put him number 1 in the Heisman, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, they won the game.
Right.
He didn't throw the flags, and I don't blame the Tennessee players just because the officials, I think, were awful. I mean, they're just playing. If Tennessee were to lose Hooker, they'd be in big trouble.
No doubt.
Because, I mean, it's for example, last year Hendon got banged up against Ole Miss, okay, and wasn't able to finish the game. And they lost a close game in Knoxville to Ole Miss to Lane Kiffin. It was the mustard bottle game everybody's always making fun of, right?
Right.
But remember what Joe Milton did, and I made fun of Joe Milton for this. The dude, they still had a chance to win. Like if you throw the ball into the end zone, what if you make a Jawan Jennings against Georgia and make the catch and win it? Dude ran out of bounds and didn't even throw it.
Right.
And he's around the 35-yard line. I'm sitting here thinking, what are you doing, bro? You can't just run out of bounds. Throw the ball. And he didn't even throw it.
Is this a factor, and I could be way off on this, but it seems like 5-6 years ago, if your starting quarterback went down, you had somewhat of a faith in your backup quarterback, maybe not to perform at the highest level as the starter, because there's a reason why said quarterback is a starter. Is this the transfer portal taking a toll finally on these backup quarterbacks? Because kids are transferring out if you're not getting a start, so you got really young guys sometimes in the backup spot.
At least in the SEC, I think most of it is that they don't have good enough rosters to withstand it, is the best way to put it. I think the only two in the SEC to me that can win a game with a backup quarterback is Alabama and Georgia. I know Alabama just got shredded on defense, But again, what did we just say? Until the Tennessee game, the defense had been really solid, especially when you look at it statistically.
Right.
Now, they've dipped in the rankings into like around 20th now in total defense, but they were in the top 10, maybe even the top 5 before that game against Tennessee, and they took a huge step back, no question about it, against an elite offense. But we'll see how they bounce back, because last year, people were showing highlights. They sacked Will Rogers 7 times. They forced multiple turnovers. We'll see if they can do that Saturday. But
I don't think Ole Miss is equipped to have a.
I don't.
If Jackson goes out.
No, think about it. The reason I say no is because, look, think about it. And I'm talking about against a good team. Now, if they're playing – if
they're playing an Alabama
school,
or
I'm just talking about
Georgia,
a solid SEC school. I can't say that South Carolina stinks, because I think they're solid. I mean, they beat Kentucky when they didn't have Will Levis at Kentucky, by the way. Here's the thing. What I'm saying is, if you look at Ole Miss, I look at the Sugar Bowl against Baylor, and they lost Matt Corral early, and they were favored in the game. Altmaier went in there, and they couldn't move the ball at all. Okay. That's why I'm still saying now, against some of their non-conference opponents, could Ole Miss still win? Yes. I'm talking about in the SEC against a quality opponent that can look in the face besides Vanderbilt. Hate to be that way, but I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it's just like, for example, I was looking at final scores, and it's hard to compare scores sometimes, but I just think you can in certain instances. For like Vanderbilt, Alabama beat Vanderbilt 55-3. Georgia beat Vanderbilt 55-0. Okay,
pretty much even right there. I mean,
Vanderbilt and Tennessee is probably going to do the same thing. So with their starting quarterback. But I'm just saying, now if Tennessee if Hooker happened to get injured or banged up, I think they could put Joe Milton in and he wouldn't turn it over.
And Ole Miss got off to a slow start there.
I think
in the Music City.
I think that Joe Milton could win the game and still win it effectively. I think the Vanderbilt Commodores are the one team, and as you just pointed out with Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt was down 13-3. Ole Miss was down to Vanderbilt 13-3. Sorry,
20-10 at one point.
Yeah,
I think, too, wasn't it?
And they were down for the majority of the first half, and then they woke up and smashed them in the second half. Vandy's the one SEC team that you could probably win with your backup quarterback, but everybody else, I think, you'd have to be a little bit nervous if you're not Georgia and Alabama, and
especially if you're like Florida.
Because, and even then, Alabama had to barely scrape by Texas A&M, who's not very good on offense, but they gave them a short field because of the turnovers, but Alabama found a way to survive. I think Tennessee could find a way to survive against Vanderbilt and probably against another couple teams in the SEC. And then I think Georgia could definitely do it because Georgia has the defense. That's where I'm still not sold on Tennessee, is defensively, because Alabama put up a ton of yards. That's why they're going to have Hendon Hooker stay healthy, because if they have him, they're not going to have too much trouble until they play Georgia. And then that's why I would still slightly favor Georgia in Athens, just because I'm not sold on that Tennessee defense. But again, if Tennessee forces 2 or 3 turnovers against Georgia, the whole thing's out the door because of how they can score. Now, but if Tennessee is going to beat Georgia, it's going to have to be in a track meet sort of deal, and so that's what's going to be fascinating. But I just think Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia are the only teams in this league that could lose their starting quarterback against an opponent in the SEC and still win. But I would think that Alabama and Georgia would be a little bit better equipped, because Tennessee, I still don't think, is as good on defense as those two teams.
In case you're wondering, Sam Kahn Jr., who writes for The Athletic and does Texas A&M football, his grade for Texas A&M at the midpoint, D+.
Wow.
He says a preseason top 10 sitting at 3-3 with an anemic offense is not what anybody in College Station envisioned at this point. The Aggies' fight against Alabama was admirable, but the season has been a big disappointment so far.
And the thing that's interesting about Texas A&M with Sam Kahn and what he's saying there is that they had their backup quarterback, quote unquote, but he was actually their starter as the season started. So that's a little bit of an anomaly too, because Max Johnson had been more efficient, but his stat line wasn't great. before he got hurt. So
Right.
yeah, I think there's a lot of schematic issues with Texas A&M, just like there were schematic issues for Alabama defensively in the way they tried to match up with Tennessee, which they didn't execute well enough, and they didn't win enough one-on-one battles, and that's why Tennessee put up what they did and went up and down the field.
All right, let's get that first break in. When we come back, Josh Pate has an interesting comment.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Only had one wreck showing Parkway southbound at Mountain Gap. That one may have had an injury involved. Everything else seems to be running smooth this morning. You be careful. Make sure you put extra room in there so you got somewhere to go if something goes wrong. D&L Refrigeration repairs heating and air conditioning units for homes and businesses. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Mercury Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, Mercury Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
The Huntsville Sports Commission, a not-for-profit organization, is driven by the love of sports. November brings some great sporting events to the Rocket City, including the AVCA Fall Collegiate Beach Championships November 4th through 6th, the Gulf South Conference Soccer Championship November 3rd through 6th, and the NCAA Division I Regional Cross Country Championships November 10th and 11th. For the love of sports, the Huntsville Sports Commission. Find out more at huntsvillesports.org. Organizations using Salesforce know how powerful the platform is and how much time, money, and headaches it saves if it's set up right and you know how to use it. Let's face it, Salesforce is complicated and time-consuming to figure out, and a lot can go wrong now and down the road without expert help. That's why most Salesforce users work with an implementation partner like Higher Echelon, so they get the absolute most out of their Salesforce investment. Higher Echelon is a 5-star Salesforce consulting partner who won Salesforce Military Hiring Partner of the Year. President Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached for the cadets. He puts that experience to good use at Higher Echelon, where they pride themselves on hiring veterans. Look, not all Salesforce partners are the same. Don't put your company at risk by going with an inferior partner. Higher Echelon is the trusted partner you can count on to get you up and running and seeing returns on your Salesforce investment in a fraction of the time it would take if you go it alone. Go to higherechelon.com. That's HIGHERECHELON.com to learn more. Go higher and go Army.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again proud to be a sponsor of All Things Football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected. At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that, chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at BadDaddy'sBurgerBar.com.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to Talking Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. And we didn't get a chance to dissect this at all yet because we had a lot on Monday and a lot on Tuesday. But Will Anderson had some interesting comments to say on Monday. Here is Will Anderson about the team's performance in Knoxville.
I think we probably just had a lot of anxiety. We didn't have the same intensity that, we had a couple of weeks ago. We most definitely needed that to carry over to this game, but just the intensity was just not where it needed to be.
So that was Will Anderson on Monday. And we had Josh Pate on the show on Monday as well. And yesterday, take a listen to what Josh Pate said and how he's reacted to everything that Will Anderson has said.
We're talking about lack of requisite intensity. We're talking about lack of requisite focus. We're talking about competitive anxiety. Alabama is admitting to you they're suffering from the sort of thing they used to make other teams suffer from when they knew they were about to play them or after they just played them. I've been around that team for a long time. I was around some of those teams in the 20-teens, the Ashawn Robinson teams, the Jaron Reed teams, Jonathan Allen, Minka Fitzpatrick, Ashawn Robinson. Those were the kind of squads where, I kid you not, I'm in Athens, Georgia one afternoon, and they're up 38-3. They give up a long touchdown run in what you and I would call garbage time, and they're fighting each other on the sideline. I'm out in Glendale, Arizona. They are winning the national championship. The game has ended. Confetti is falling down. Jonathan Allen is back and forth with teammates. Why? Not because they didn't win. They just didn't play the way they wanted to. The season's over, guys. He's going after teammates because they just didn't play at a high enough standard. I have watched on multiple occasions, you're talking about competitive anxiety before a game. I used to watch Tony Brown come out of the tunnel shirtless in track pants and just waltz through the opposing team's warm-up cadences. Didn't care. Not an ounce of anxiety to be found anywhere in that locker room. And so if you think that you're pissed off as an Alabama fan, or if you think you're dumbfounded like me watching that from a distance, imagine former players listening to that garbage. That's excuse-making. It's all it is. Whether it's true or not, it's excuse-making because you and I both know if Tennessee misses that field goal or Bama makes a field goal and they win, we're not hearing any of that following Monday.
Josh Pate, and you guys kind of got a little bit of that last night on the drive.
Yeah, I mean, except and that's what Antonio Langham, the great Antonio Langham, said. He didn't really blame the coaching staff, and he said he was getting blown up, and people were asking him about Pete Golding and what's Pete Golding doing, and what are these defenses he's calling, and why they got to make a change at defensive coordinator. He's like, look, if you went into the film room and sat down with him and he diagrammed what the players were supposed to do, he's like, I bet you 85% of the time or more he's making the right defensive call. In other words, it's on the players. They got to go out and execute it. And especially now, things are changing. It's a different environment. The guys are getting paid. So, in other words, you got to hold them even more accountable. I mean, if you want to make NIL money and get paid and get a bigger piece of the pie, then, certainly there's going to be pressure on coaches, but there's going to be pressure on players too, and you got to go out and perform. And Will Anderson's making a lot of NIL money, and he's certainly one of the most high-profile players in college football. So no, it does not look good when Will Anderson comes out and starts saying, hey, we had a lot of anxiety. We didn't have enough intensity, and it makes you wonder if Alabama, if there was some complacency, with the Tennessee rivalry, because they have not lost in 15 years, and of course Tennessee came in red hot, still hot, playing really good football, and game day was there and everything else. But sometimes, and this has happened with the team last year. It's happened with the team in 2017 when they lost to the Auburn Tigers late. But a lot of times, the football teams under Coach Saban, have to experience a loss before they can right the ship and contend for a championship. Now, in 2018, unfortunately, that loss didn't happen until the national championship game against Clemson, because Jalen Hurts saved their bacon coming off the bench against Georgia to win the SEC title. And then they won the playoff game easily against Oklahoma, and so they didn't get exposed until the national championship game. But if you look at all the other seasons, in 19 they missed the playoff.
Right.
That was a lot to do with Tua Tagovailoa's second injury. But again, when you look at it, and then 2020 they dominated throughout. But that was a different season, a different kind of schedule. And I think that team, unlike the last two, because this Alabama team's already lost a game too, I think they had uncommon leadership. Now, the thing is, we heard a lot of great things about the leadership in the offseason of this team, even heard that from Nick Saban. But again,
at SEC Media Days, we heard that a lot.
But they did not play well against Tennessee. And then when you hear a Will Anderson talking about it like that, he's taking some heat because he's considered a leader of that team. So
even Nick Saban kind of alluded to it on Monday, saying that coming out of the tunnel, this team didn't seem to have.
He was talking about it coming out of halftime. He's like, "Why aren't y'all chanting? What's up with that?" And so it's going to be interesting to see. Last year, he found a way to reach the team and found a way to right the ship and get them to play good football until the end of the season, where they won the SEC championship. Then, of course, I think the battle of attrition got to them, but that's part of it, because I've already said this. I mean, Alabama's lost national championships to injuries before. They lost it in 2016 to Clemson because they lost so many guys by the end, and other guys weren't able to step up and make plays to beat the great Clemson team. They weren't able to step up and beat Georgia. They didn't have enough guys left that were ready to play. If those guys had been ready, then Alabama might have won the national championship, but they weren't, and so Georgia had the best team remaining, and they won. So they've lost a couple of national championships that way. You have to, but that's part of football, because injuries are part of it. But when you look at it though, it's going to be interesting to see if he can reach this team, because there was higher expectations, there was a lot of experience. You thought with some of the roster attrition that they got rid of some of the turds, but it's still sounding like, and I'm not saying that there's much on this team, but it does sound like that they're still trying to find their identity and find themselves. And we'll see if a loss, a lot of times with a Saban team, he's had 2 go undefeated. But a loss a lot of times resets the team. Right. We'll see if it does this time, because if there continues to be anxiety and guys not focusing, then it's going to be tough for Alabama to reach the playoff and have a chance to win an SEC and a national championship. And again, this is another thing that Nick Saban's having to navigate. Last year was the first year of it. This is the second year, is the NIL aspect.
That's where I was going to.
Who's going to be motivated to play? Because I think Will Anderson's motivated, man. I haven't seen the dude. I know he didn't put up great stats. I think he had 3 tackles against Tennessee, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he wasn't playing hard and wasn't trying to lead.
Right.
I just tip my hat to Tennessee that they had a great plan. Their coaching staff had a great plan, and they came out and executed. And one thing NIL is going to do, as far as for high-profile players, it's going to put a target on your back, man. You better be ready to play every game, because dudes like Gerald Mincy, who was calling out Will Anderson on social media and saying basically that he sucked, they're going to be trying to make their name against him. So you've got to be ready every game, because there's going to be somebody gunning for you. For one, what was one of the biggest things that On3 Sports put out, that after that one game, because he had 5 touchdowns, had the best game statistically when you look at yards for any wide receiver in Tennessee history. And they've had a lot of great receivers in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, early 2000s. Maybe not in the last decade plus, but they've had a lot of great ones. He outperformed all of them. His NIL value tripled in one game.
Oh, it did. Yeah, we said that on Tuesday yesterday.
Not in the $1 million range, but in the high 6 digits.
He went up $450,000.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
Game.
Think about it, in one game.
You wonder now, though, going forward, because you're right, a lot of these players, not just Alabama, but a lot of these high-profile players that had these NIL deals announced and they went public with them, and it was like, oh, you're getting this, you're getting that. At SEC Media Days, we didn't find out until SEC Media Days that Will Anderson actually was taking in NIL deals. For a while there, we had no idea.
Yeah, he didn't publicize a lot of it.
You wonder if a lot of these kids now are going to be like, wait a minute, I'm getting these NIL deals, but can we not publicize everything that goes on with them?
Like Jordan Battle was the one that told everybody about the Porsche.
Right, because, it is now they are target for criticism. They are going to get it. People are like, hey, wait a minute, you're getting this money. You wanted all of this. You wanted this as a player. You guys wanted to be compensated. You wanted to be this. And the next step is some schools, I think Penn State or other schools, they want to be employees of the university because they're getting this money.
Yeah.
You're going to draw criticism. You open yourself up for all of that. And when play doesn't go well, and here's the thing, it's one loss. This is one loss. Alabama hasn't lost 4 or 5 games. It's one loss, but the criticism is always higher, because the standard that Alabama has set has been high. So when one loss happens, it gets picked apart way more than it does if somebody like...
Well, I mean, the amazing part for Nick Saban, when you just look at it in its totality, since his opening year where he did lose multiple games, and what I mean by that is they lost 6. They ended up 7-6 his first season. Since that time, 08 going forward, even though, remember, they were undefeated for most of the 08 season, so they lost the SEC championship game, and then they weren't motivated in the Sugar Bowl, and they got blown out by Utah. But I believe the only other time that they've lost 3 games was 2010 after the first championship, and they still mauled Michigan State in the bowl game and then came back and won the next 2 national championships. So they have not lost, 3 games in a season since 2010.
Yeah.
And so usually, now they've lost multiple games, but a lot of times the second loss hasn't occurred until the college football playoff or the national championship game, and then you end up – and then twice in 2016 and in 2018 against Clemson, they lost national championship games when they were undefeated. They hadn't lost a game. So it's been pretty amazing, the run they've been on. And so this is just another issue for Nick Saban to work around and try to reach players. And that's what's going to be fascinating. Now, I had text messages and stuff, and I didn't hear the exact comment, and we carry the show each and every day here on ESPN 97.7 The Zone. But Paul Feinbaum was making the rounds, not just on his own show, but on ESPN, and talking about, Nick Saban. His future may be uncertain.
Right.
But, I mean, like I told somebody, it's for the 50th time. Okay, every time Alabama loses a game, somebody in the media starts saying Nick Saban's losing it or that he's going to retire. And he's at the age where that's just going to be part of it, man. They're going to people are looking for that.
I think people
I just want to see how he handles, this situation and handles it with this team. Every situation is different.
I think people see this Alabama team as more vulnerable than any other Alabama team. And I think that's where that is coming from. That's where that talk
I think some of
coming from.
I think some of it is hope.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that they are, because they've been getting their ass beat, for a long time. And I think that's why it was so cathartic for Tennessee, because they had been losing for 15 years in a row. And so they celebrated madly. Now let's see how Tennessee – now – they'll name their score Saturday. Okay, that's completely overmatched opponents.
Oh, yeah.
But let's see how Tennessee does in the SEC going forward, sans Vanderbilt. I will go ahead and call that. I will go ahead and call that. They could give Hendon Hooker, they won't because of the Heisman, but they could give Hendon Hooker a day off and still beat Vanderbilt. But they won't because he has a chance to win a Heisman Trophy. No question about it. Now, if he beats, matter of fact, if he beats Georgia, and that would pretty much guarantee, because that would mean they beat Kentucky. That would mean they were going to Atlanta.
Right.
Hendon Hooker would be like a runaway train.
Well,
for
yeah.
the Heisman Trophy.
Let's get a break in. Tennessee may be a runaway train right now. We'll explain when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a wreck coming out of Decatur. This one's on the Hudson Memorial Bridge. Looks like it's about halfway across the bridge in the right lane. You need to move left as you come up onto the bridge there. And we had Governors in California on the inbound side. That one also reported as a no injury. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue can help keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Alabama A&M University football. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com and view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see ya in a Kia. Go Bulldogs!
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Hey there, folks. Bob Baumhauer here. We're celebrating 40 legendary years here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. And to kick this off, we're coming in hot with our all-new Alabama Hot Chicken. Fresh southern fried chicken breast smothered in a blend of tangy, immune-boosting herbs and spices with a spicy finish. Served up with a side of homemade smoked Gouda cheese grits, Miss Mary southern greens, and garlic bread. And there's plenty more where that came from. Stop in today and celebrate with us. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
Okay, I've got to put in a plug for Kohl's lowest prices of the season. I got myself a pair of cozy sweats for under $18. Found my sister the cutest boots for Christmas, just $29.99. And with the 50% off kitchen and dining essentials, I'm all set to host for the holidays. Not to mention, I got 80% off clearance finds and earned Kohl's cash. So yeah, get to Kohl's and thank me later. Select styles ends October 23rd. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing, helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
Listen to Buckhorn High School football all season long.
Landrum down near the goal line, and he's in for the Bucks touchdown.
On 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Well, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, and we were just kind of talking some Pac-12 during the commercial break. That just tells you where we put the Pac-12 football. We talk about it during the commercial. But it did cause me to pull up the Pac-12 standings.
Yeah.
And I haven't even looked at these. And there will be one remaining unbeaten team in conference play after this weekend in the Pac-12. UCLA's 3-0. Oregon is 3-0 in conference play. USC, Utah all have one loss in conference play. There'll be one remaining team unbeaten. And I forgot about this with the Pac-12. They did away with divisions this year. So it's just the top two teams.
They have done away with that, for a while now. It's the top two teams for a couple years. Whoever finishes the top two in the standings will play in the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah, I believe this is the first year, though, that they've gone away from the divisional format. Something tells me it is, but I'm not for sure. So UCLA, Oregon, and there you go. And it's Chip Kelly's return to Eugene for the very first time since leaving
That's what Josh Pate
Oregon.
told us. That's why he's going out there.
That's intriguing.
And that's something that I had not really thought about because Chip's been back in the league for a few years now with UCLA, but that he's never played at Autzen Stadium since he came back. So this will be the first time that basically Chip has been back in Eugene. And UCLA looked bad early and probably should have lost to South Alabama, and they were playing against, in front of two dogs and a cat. At the Rose Bowl, not very big crowds, but quietly they found a way to win that game, and they found a way to survive, and they're undefeated, and they're unbeaten in league play. And you talked about Oregon. Since they got smashed by Georgia, they have been impressive. And Bo Nix has really put up good stats.
Yep.
I mean, the only legit team I think Oregon has played, I know they did beat BYU, but look, we just saw Arkansas go over there and thump them. So I'm not really sure that Oregon's played another they definitely haven't played another SEC caliber team. So Bo was definitely the old Bo, against that we saw that was inconsistent. He wasn't a bad player at Auburn, but he was hot and cold. He was the cold Bo against the Georgia Bulldogs. But since that time in that league against that competition, Bo Nix has lit it up, and that's why Oregon's undefeated. I mean, they've flown under the radar. Probably they like it that way, and they've played well.
All right, 256-576-4977. You can join the program this morning. CBS put out yesterday that the Alabama-Tennessee game watched by 11.56 million viewers. It peaked.
Smokey pointed that out yesterday.
16.2 million viewers.
It's the most highest viewed college football game of the year, second being Alabama-Texas. But yes, it drew the most viewers.
The Alabama now has played in 4 of the 8 most viewed games of the year. Now, think about this.
Along with the Suckeyes.
In 2021, there were only 2 games in the college football season that top 10 million. Last year, only 2 games top 10 million. Ohio State, Michigan, and the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2. Saturday, the Michigan-Penn State game only drew 6.4 million.
Right.
That was the 6th highest game of the season, though, at 6.4. 10 games this year have been watched by 5 million or more viewers. And an SEC or Big Ten team was involved in all of the top 9. The only one outside of the group was an NC State-Clemson game that rounded out the list at 5 million viewers.
And that was at the time a battle of unbeatens, I believe.
Yeah, so that just tells you when beginning of the year we were talking about the Big Ten and the SEC garnering money from the television networks, fighting with ESPN and Fox and ABC and CBS on who is going to get the most money. You can see now why the Pac-12 and the Big 12, and for that part, the ACC, their television deals are brutal because the SEC and the Big Ten are driving the ratings train. The Alabama-Tennessee game peaked at 16.2 million. Keep in mind, NFL averages about 19 on a Sunday. That Alabama-Tennessee game nearly peaked as much as an NFL game on Saturday. So that's quite a bit. That tells you why the SEC is getting, what is it, 100 million or something like that, or 80 million?
The Little Ten's getting 100 million,
Right,
and I think the
80 or
SEC
90.
is getting 75, so the
Yeah.
Big Ten gets the most money to finish second constantly.
All right. Hour 1 is in the books. Hour 2 is going to get underway. We've got some more fantastic college football talk on the horizon. How about we go down to Baton Rouge? Talk a little LSU. They are favored against Ole Miss.
They are.
Ole Miss comes in the higher-ranked team. How will it look on Saturday? We'll go down to Baton Rouge with Sonny Ship.
Southeastern Conference Commissioner Greg Sankey is coming to the Huntsville Museum of Art on Thursday, November 10th. He will sit with Abraham Madcore, the executive editor of Sports Business Journal, for an interview about issues in college football, such as conference realignment, playoff expansion, and name, image, and likeness. This event is part of the museum's Voices of Our Times series, dedicated to bringing in experts in the arts, entertainment, politics, and sports. For more information, visit hsvmuseum.org.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a wreck coming out of Decatur. This one's on the Hudson Memorial Bridge. Looks like it's about halfway across the bridge in the right lane. You need to move left as you come up onto the bridge there. And we had Governors in California on the inbound side. That one also reported as a no injury. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue can help keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Plenty of sunshine this afternoon, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be warm. Temperatures only going to climb into the mid and upper 50s. A couple of us might see the lower 60s. I want you to bear in mind temperatures should be climbing into the mid and upper 70s this time of year. Dropping into the low and mid 30s as we head into the overnight and early into your Thursday morning. Mostly sunny sky through Thursday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the low and mid 60s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
NBA opening night for the Atlanta Hawks. They will host the Rockets to tip off the 2022-23 season. Atlanta a 10-point favorite at home, the over-under at 233. Game 2 of the NLCS tonight in San Diego. The Phillies lead the Padres 1-0. Philadelphia plus 105 on the money line. San Diego minus 125, the over-under 6.5. Game 1 of the ALCS in Houston. The Astros minus 200 at home against the Yankees at plus 165 after New York eliminated the Guardians on Tuesday. 7 the over-under. Red Hot winning picks at experts.winnersandwhiners.com. Save 75% on any best bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwhiners.com.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
There we go. It's hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And coming up on Saturday in Baton Rouge, the LSU Tigers will look to put back-to-back good performances together. We've seen LSU look good, and we've seen LSU look not so good, but still good in games this year. Their performance in Gainesville was good. Now they come in, they are an actual favorite against a ranked Ole Miss team, and there's a lot of feeling that LSU can surprise or knock the Rebels from the ranks of the unbeaten on Saturday, but it's going to take, obviously it's going to take a good performance from LSU, but they got to string back-to-back performances together.
Well, they're coming off their best offensive performance in the Swamp, 45-35 win, and they're also, to me, they've improved since the game against Tennessee. But Tennessee's an elite football team, at least right now. That's what we believe. LSU was, I predicted in Atlanta that they would finish second in the West. That looked bleak early because of the special teams gaffes when they lost in New Orleans to Florida State. And then special teams played a big role in their definitive loss to Tennessee. But even through all this, and that's why the division is so interesting this year, LSU's right there. Alabama now has a loss. LSU has one loss in the SEC. Ole Miss is leading the Western Division, but when you look at the Rebels, they've looked vulnerable. We already talked about it. They should have lost at home to Kentucky, but they didn't. They survived. They haven't looked like a juggernaut dominant team. Auburn moved the ball up and down the field, so that's why a lot of people believe in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night that they've got a chance to beat the LSU Tigers, that is, their old rivals, Ole Miss. And we're going to talk about it with our next guest. He covers LSU football and recruiting for Go 24/7, GEAUX, and it's our good friend Sonny Shipp, and we're glad to talk with him now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Sonny, good morning. How are you?
Good, fellas. What's happening?
Good. You're with Drew and Scott. And big game for LSU. This is it's been a little bit of an up and down first season for Brian Kelly, but progress being made, and I thought it was a big step forward for them to win in the Swamp. This is certainly not a vintage Gator team, but this is a Gator team that beat Utah early, scared Tennessee, took them to the final play, and to be that impressive, I think, had to be encouraging coming off of that performance that I know Brian Kelly was very disappointed in against the Vols.
Yeah, because you have to think that LSU was in a vulnerable situation where coming off that Tennessee loss, it was going to go one or two ways.
Right.
It was either going to be they were going to really bounce back against Florida, or you was looking at a situation to where you may have overestimated the leadership on the team, and things could have gone sideways pretty quickly, like it had done in the past under Ed Orgeron. But I think you saw that leadership, you saw that character step up, and I think that in a first year coach like Brian Kelly, and you have a little bit of a rebuild going on, you look for certain points in the season and certain things that you can point to. You can kind of put an exclamation point on, and you can say, okay, this is a sign right here that we're moving in the right direction. This is a sign right here that we're moving in the right direction. And I think that Florida game was definitely one of those. Definitely one that when they go back and they have a little time to reflect on the season and things that they want to build on and things that they want to point to when they're trying to, recruit for the future and things of that nature, that you look at that Florida game and you say, okay, this was a springboard for us right here. Now, obviously, to continue that, you got to come through and you got to do, you got to upset, not an upset anymore, which is another storyline within itself, but knock off an undefeated top 10 team in Ole Miss. And so that's going to be, that's another one of those that you look at and that you kind of put a point on. You say, okay, if this could lead to a lot bigger and better things when you consider, like you mentioned, how the season started and where they were after the Tennessee game.
What direction did you see this team take? I mean, obviously, offensively, under Brian Kelly, you have to find that identity. And we thought we saw it, a couple games in, and then they kind of like, there's a lot of growing pains. But what's this identity thing coming out of Florida that we can take away and say, okay, now we know for sure this is the direction LSU is going?
Well, hey, I like to eat crow first off, so I'm going to go ahead and eat some because I predicted Florida 27-23. After the offensive struggles that, we saw against Tennessee with the offensive line, with not knowing for sure if Will Campbell would come back early in the week, somebody pinned me down, so I said, all right, yeah, I guess I'll go Florida 27-23. And lo and behold, I was wrong, so that's a good thing for the LSU fan base. But I didn't think that things would go sideways. I thought they would go into the swamp. I thought they would play a tough game. I thought that they would play, that they would play together like they did, that the team that we thought that they were, based on that leadership and character, that it would show up, just that the offense would not be enough, that the offense would not be able to do enough. And, lo and behold, Jaden Daniels just steps up, and, I mean, he looked absolutely fantastic out there. The wide receivers, they got separation. They caught the ball, the offensive line. They gave up some pressures and stuff, but they played a lot better than they did against Tennessee. And, if that offense shows up on Saturday and is able to match points with Ole Miss, your defense gets some stops. I also think that LSU has that they have a good chance to pull that one off.
Yeah, and Sonny, when I know you've studied Ole Miss, and they're a good football team, and but our good friend Matt Moscone, I was watching some of his Instagram, and he went ahead and predicted LSU to win this game. He doesn't believe that Ole Miss is a top 10 team, believes they're a top 25 team. They have been good but not great. We've already seen them dodge a bullet against Kentucky. Auburn moved the ball up and down the field. I've got to believe if the Jaden Daniels – and by the way, I didn't think Jaden Daniels played extremely poorly against Tennessee. I just didn't think they were able to run the ball well enough. And then defensively, I just felt like that Tennessee was able to dictate tempo and wear LSU down. This Jaden Daniels that we've seen the last few weeks, the way he's improved, and sometimes this takes a while, maybe a half a year for a portal guy. I think if we get the turnover-free Jaden Daniels against LSU, they got a good shot against Ole Miss.
Yeah, and if you get the Jaden Daniels that pulls the trigger, that's probably
throws the ball.
That's been the biggest complaint, that the fan base has had through the first 6 games, was that you had receivers running, receivers open, and they weren't, he wasn't getting the ball, he wasn't, releasing the ball. And, Brian Kelly, he stated a lot of what you just described, that it's he's more comfortable in the offense now. He's more comfortable in the system. He's halfway through the season. He's a guy who just got there in March. And so, a lot of those things are just kind of starting to come together now for him, or starting to kind of click for him. Now what you want to see is that, I think in the past you saw Jaden Daniels take a step forward and then maybe take a half a step back. and that was some of the complaints that the Arizona State, that the Arizona State crowd had with him. So now you saw him take a giant step forward, I think, at Florida. So now, is he going to maintain that? Not saying you've got to take another giant step forward like that, but can you just stay at that level? Can you bring that same level that you brought at Florida? Because I think that's what it's going to take. When people think about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, it's hard not to think about a passing offense, but this Rebel running game is just that's what they hang their hat on. 271 yards a game, 5th in the country. Some fans would probably be surprised to know that LSU is 4 slots higher than Ole Miss in the SEC in passing offense.
They are.
And so that's another storyline, kind of that this game, I think, is going to have a little bit of a different feel and maybe a little bit of a different go to it than we've seen with Tennessee, where it was just so fast and just up and down the field. And then at Florida, to where LSU kind of set that pace and kind of dictated that, but also had those time-consuming drives. Their first drive at Florida, I think, it ate up 5 minutes after that first Florida touchdown. And so they were able to kind of keep that offense off the field. And, hopefully LSU can get that going again and be able to build off of that run game. That it was nice to see them do some different things. You saw a little quick toss a couple of times. Now, all of a sudden, you do that against Ole Miss. You fake that play action, man, you could have somebody streaking down the field. So there's some things that hopefully that the LSU offense can continue to build off of that I think help Jaden Daniels. Aside from the receivers catching the ball better, the offensive line blocking better, that run game was a nice little boost. And kudos to Josh Williams, because he made a lot of those yards on his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going into this season, I think everybody expected Kayshon Boutte to be the top receiver for LSU, but Malik Neighbors has become that go-to target for Jaden Daniels. How do you sum up Boutte right now? Just 1 touchdown, 245 yards midway through the year.
Coming off his best game, though.
Yeah, coming off his best game, and like with Jaden Daniels, can Kayshon build off that?
Yeah.
Is he able to come back and put 2 of those games back to back like that together? I think that's going to be the key for him, because hopefully someone got in his ear and said, "Look, man, you went from possibly making millions and millions and millions to a lot less, but you still got half a season left to where, you can turn it around now, and all of those questions, you can give them partial answers, and you'll have to deal with the rest of it at the combine and whatnot. But, he still has a chance to where he can come out and, he catches 5 or 6 balls a game for the next 5, for the next 6 games. His stats would look a lot different at the end of the year. So, is he able to do that? I think that's going to be a big key also for LSU's offense, and on Saturday, and being able to match that Rebel offense.
Well, and I thought I was watching some of Brian Kelly's press conferences, and he lauded the work that Kayshon Boutte put in last week, and the way he had practiced, and so maybe as you said, a light has come on, because we haven't seen the production, and as quickly as a guy can play his way up the draft board, you can play your way down. Now, you may be making NIL money, but the real payoff down the road, Sonny, is being a first-round draft choice and getting a nice contract and going to the NFL.
Oh, no doubt. That's what he's working for. And I'm actually working on a piece right now, looking at what LSU's transfer portal numbers could look like and things like that and stuff. And it's weird when you think about it that Kayshon still got 2 years of eligibility after this year. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, we're already writing this guy off to the NFL, and who's to say? But yeah, so that I think that's going to be a big key. What have you guys? I didn't get a chance to check in earlier. What do you guys think about the game?
Well, I think it's interesting. We were talking about this before you came on, and I saw the piece you guys had on Go 24/7 about the Ole Miss offense and leading the SEC in rushing. This is the 3rd straight year they've done it. The difference with this Ole Miss team, though, is I've watched them. I don't think they throw it nearly as well. I know they did against Vandy, but that's an outlier. I don't think Jackson Dart is nearly as good as Corral. Corral was a dark horse Heisman guy, and I don't think Jackson Dart is. And I just think what's going to come down to in this matchup is which team runs the ball the best, and the key is which quarterback plays well. If Jaden Daniels continues what he did against Florida, which I think is possible because this Ole Miss defense has looked vulnerable, and with it being in Tiger Stadium, I think LSU can win the game. I don't think there's any doubt about it because I do think LSU has struggled up front, but they seem to make progress against Florida, and I don't think this is a juggernaut defense for Ole Miss. So it's a game of matchups, but I think if LSU can get quarterback production and they're able to run the ball better, if they can run the ball. I mean, Auburn, I definitely think, is not very good up front. And so I think, and LSU already beat those guys. But I will say the one thing LSU can't do, they did make Robbie Ashford look pretty good at times with their struggles in that game defensively. They're going to have to win the turnover battle. They're going to have to slow down the run. I don't think they'll completely stop it for Ole Miss. They've got to put Jackson Dart in down and distance situations where he's got some tough battles to have to win. And if they do, I think they can win the game. But it's going to come down to me, who does the best job of containing the run and which quarterback plays better, because I just don't think this Ole Miss team is quite as good this year because they just don't have as good a quarterback.
Yeah, I want to buy into LSU 100%. I want to say that they've turned the corner.
I don't want to have to eat any more Crows, Sonny. I mean, if they win this game, they might finish second in the West, man.
I want to buy into LSU.
Man, huh? Maybe I wasn't wrong, It's interesting. So I mean, when you studied Ole Miss, what do you think of them? I mean, I know they run the ball really well. I love Judkins. I think he's actually the best back, even though Evans has put up a lot of numbers. But I haven't been impressed with the passing game.
Yeah, the passing game is the passing game I think could be that thing that Ole Miss fans look at on Sunday, and if LSU does win this game, and say, okay, that's an area we've just got to get better at. And I think it could become a little bit glaring if LSU has a little bit of success in putting Ole Miss in some long down and distance situations. Because I'm with you, I think that Matt Corral was a much more I think he was just I don't know if consistent would be the word for it, but he was he had more arm talent. I thought he had more arm talent. I thought he had a lot more athleticism. Just thought he was just so much more dangerous in all aspects. And to where if Ole Miss is not able to just run the ball, just super effective like they have for a lot of the year, is Jackson Dart going to be able to put them on his shoulders in Baton Rouge, in what could be a hostile, in what should be a very hostile, atmosphere and environment with the weather and everything, no rain or anything like that in the picture. On defense, when you talk about the Ole Miss defense, what scares me about that is that they bring pressure from so many different places. They have so many different odd alignments. They can be very tough for a young offensive line to get a read on. And that has been an area that LSU has kind of struggled with, is picking up stunts, picking up guys coming from different directions. And, that could potentially be a problem. And so, I think the biggest thing, though, with I'm kind of with you, and you made that point, and I guess I really hadn't put as much thought into it. But yeah, that quarterback angle is going to be an interesting one right there, because I think that both quarterbacks, whoever the winning team is going to be, that quarterback is going to put that team on his shoulders, and he's going to wheel them down the field, because I think that the run game is not going to be as significant of a factor as it has been for Ole Miss, and I think that LSU might have a little bit of a chance to have a little bit better of a run game, just because of some of those odd alignments that Ole Miss does that kind of leave some holes and some gaps open.
Mm-hmm. And then the thing that I've been looking at too is I just don't think that Ole Miss, as far as I don't think they've played a tremendous schedule so far either. I know that they played a pretty good Kentucky team, and Kentucky really, I thought, kind of dictated the tempo there. But I don't think that Ole Miss has played a great schedule either. And so I think LSU has played a more difficult schedule. I think they've challenged themselves more. We've seen them start to improve, and I do think the spread's about right. I think it's a toss-up game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's decided in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, I could see that too. I could definitely see that too. And, another aspect too that I think was big about the Tennessee game and really affected the momentum and just, killed the LSU defense, fourth down calls. Tennessee was 3 for 3. LSU was 0 for 3. And coming into this one, that Lane Kiffin's going to have that mindset. He's going to have that mentality. It almost seemed like Brian Kelly felt like he had to have that mentality. He had to match that mindset Josh Heupel had against Tennessee. Got a lot of questions about it from the local media with some of those calls and stuff. So, does Brian Kelly take that same approach? Does he go into it with that same mindset and mentality of, okay, we've got to get touchdowns. We're going to have to. We can't put it on our defense's shoulders maybe as much as we would like to do against a Florida State, a team that doesn't score as many points. But winning fourth down, and not necessarily winning fourth down, but not getting obliterated like you did against Tennessee. You can't let Ole Miss go 3 for 3 or 4 for 4, and you go over. And even have a chance to win this game. Then you toss in the special team snafus against Tennessee.
Yeah, got to clean that up.
Those. You got to clean that up. And I think even that's an area that initially I thought, okay, LSU just has to. They've got to win the turnover battle. They got to win the special teams battle. The more I look at Ole Miss, though, now I think if they can just not lose the special teams battle. That can keep them in there, not give them those short fields, not give them those easier opportunities. That if they can just do that, then that will give them a chance to be able to win it in the fourth quarter, like you guys have talked about.
It would be a big win for Brian Kelly, no doubt about it, and give LSU a chance. It would, and the Alabama game coming off out of Alabama's bye. If they beat Mississippi State. It would make that game would mean so much more down the road potentially. It would be another tough road game for Alabama. Well, Sonny, we always appreciate the time and the insight. Let everybody know how to follow your coverage over at Go 24/7.
Yeah, come check us out. Go 24/7 GEAUX247.com. If you're a member of the 24/7 Sports Network for either Auburn, Alabama, whatever school you follow, you can also come check us out too, because your sub works over here at our place too. So come check us out.
Thanks, Sonny.
Guys, y'all have a great day.
Let's get a break in. Jake Crane with us next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a wreck coming out of Decatur. This one's on the Hudson Memorial Bridge. Looks like it's about halfway across the bridge in the right lane. You need to move left as you come up onto the bridge there. And we had Governors in California on the inbound side. That one also reported as a no injury. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue can help keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Okay, I've got to put in a plug for Kohl's lowest prices of the season. I got myself a pair of cozy sweats for under $18. Found my sister the cutest boots for Christmas, just $29.99. And with the 50% off kitchen and dining essentials, I'm all set to host for the holidays. Not to mention, I got 80% off clearance finds and earned Kohl's cash. So yeah, get to Kohl's and thank me later. Select styles ends October 23rd. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to believe it or not, the holidays are upon us. It is time to start thinking about the important things like, hey, what's on the menu this year? It is time to pre-order your honey glazed ham or turkey from Apple Lane. Let's get honey glazed for the holidays and make the holidays even sweeter with our award-winning banana pudding.
That's right.
Let us help make this year's holiday just so much easier. Apple Lane, come see us in Decatur, Alabama on the Beltline.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that, chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at BadDaddy'sBurgerBar.com.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet & Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet & Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, 8:29 on a Wednesday morning. And a lot of college football talk, rightfully so, because we are gearing up for another Saturday of what will be fantastic college football all across the country, and especially here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Saturday, you got Alabama and Mississippi State. Alabama looks to rebound from that loss. Mississippi State comes in looking to rebound from a loss. Both teams coming in trying to pick the pieces up of what was a tough Saturday this past Saturday.
There's no question about that. And our next guest is the co-host of one of the fastest-growing shows in the United States. You can catch them on YouTube. It's Crane and Company from 6:30 to 8 Central Time, of course, Monday through Friday. He's just coming off of another outstanding show. They cover national sports, but especially college football, the NFL, and we're going to get his thoughts when he visits us on a weekly basis, and we pick his brain, especially when it's college football related, and it is the one and only Jake Crane. Jake, welcome back to the show. How are you this morning?
Man,
man, I'm doing great, guys. How are y'all doing?
We're doing good. And first, I guess the first question, because you've had very strong opinions about it, are you surprised that Auburn has not done anything with Brian Harsin, or is this one of those things they're just going to ride it out, name an athletic director, and make the change at the end? Because I know you've said why delay the inevitable in your mind.
Yeah, obviously Auburn's situation is circumstantial. Without an athletic director, any coach that could actually change Auburn around or having a big effect isn't going to take the job, because having an AD there that hired you is like having the protection from the mob, or being able to buy it's going to take a while to fire me insurance, or I bet I get to that buyout quick if we have one good year. They're not going to come if they're not attached to that athletic director, which I think you're going to see that happen soon. When that decision gets announced, then I think you go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off, because the longer you keep Brian Harsin, the closer you get to the early signing period. And the closer you get to the early signing period, the least time you're going to have once you do fire them. So unless you just want to throw away the early signing period, which most kids, if they don't have grade problems, or there's a couple in every cycle that are big time enough to be able to wait it out, they're deciding early, because early enrolling is not a new thing anymore, and these freshmen are playing quicker. Why are they playing quicker? Well, because the training's getting better, but also you're able to be there in the spring if you enroll early. Remember, it used to be everybody get excited about when a quarterback at a high school would enroll early. Now you're having all the position players do it because it's just good business.
Mm-hmm. What did you see from Auburn on Saturday, though? Did you see any positive takeaways from the game at Ole Miss?
I mean, yeah, everybody made it in the stadium and out of the stadium, without anything crazy happening. The bus got there. It was a nice day. Russia hasn't nuked us yet, so that was always good. But, look, good teams find a way to win, bad teams find a way to lose. Auburn has their best rushing game of the season. Tank Bigsby goes off, but they also give up 450 rushing yards. Ole Miss has three 100-yard rushers. It is what it is right now, that you're finding ways to lose games. When your worst unit plays the best, your best unit plays the worst. That's what losing football teams do, and that's where Auburn's at right now. And I know that may be an oversimplification. We could get into the nitty-gritty of why it happened, and Auburn's defensive line getting out of gap, and Ole Miss having an experienced offensive line with some really good backs, one who was begging Auburn to offer him, or begging Auburn to offer him, and then when they did, he was coming to Auburn, and then ended up not coming in Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah.
But look, Auburn's just not a good football team right now. That's just the truth.
Now, coming out of the bye, we saw a cameo from him in the game, but do you think they'll go back to TJ Finley, or are they going to stick with Robbie Ashford?
Well, you know who TJ Finley is. Like, we've had enough time to know who TJ Finley is. He's going to have some throws where you're like, man, a guy at this size making those throws, you get really excited, and then he'll make two or three decisions that are just absolutely perplexing. I still think Ashford gives you the best chance to win because of that running element. I mean, TJ Finley can't really run. Robbie Ashford is a much better runner than he is passer. There's some different things you can do, especially in the red zone with a guy at the quarterback position that can run. It truly turns it into 11 on 11. I just think Robbie is just your best chance.
Very interesting. We're talking to Jake Crane and Company, and now we see Tennessee. They shock Alabama. They win for the first time in 15 years. Of course, a lot of people picked Tennessee in this game. It's not like it was a surprise to a lot in the national media. I know you had some interesting takes on your show on it. Alabama showing vulnerability. Bryce Young, a warrior, he comes back, but what do we take from Alabama? What do we take from Tennessee going forward?
Well, I think there's a lot. We had David Pollock on the show this morning, had a great conversation with him about it. At Alabama, we've seen Alabama lose regular season games and bounce back and be fine. But the way this Alabama team is losing is different. Alabama, what they would not do typically in the past regularly is beat themselves. This is not to take anything away from Tennessee. I picked Tennessee to win. We talked about last week on this show that if Tennessee played really well and Alabama played really well, I think Tennessee is good enough this year, and Alabama is at a point where Tennessee could still win the game. Offensively, Bryce Young was incredible. Tennessee and Hendon Hooker was incredible. Defensively, Alabama, I know they had the touchdown, but in the secondary, They're an absolute mess. They never adjusted. And then up front, the lack of pass rush with Will Anderson and Dallas Turner has been one of the biggest surprises of the season. But Alabama's losing games because they don't play sound defense. They're busting coverages, and they're penalizing themselves. I think they're the most penalized team in the country.
Right.
Which if you'd have told me 2 years ago that Nick Saban would have been, slapped on the wrist by Greg Sankey with him and Jimbo Fisher about being a distraction, and Alabama would lead the country in penalties, I'd put a straitjacket on you and book you a ticket to Shutter Island. But that's what we're seeing. Bama's still got to go on the road to Ole Miss. They still got to go on the road to LSU. I don't know if Alabama makes it out of the regular season with less than 2 losses.
Interesting. And then
is that a reaction to the Tennessee game, or is that just a culmination of everything from season 1 to here?
Yeah, it's a culmination of everything. I mean, look at the penalties. The wounds are self-inflicted. I mean, go back and look against Texas. Even in games that they've won, you're having out, and they're not just holding, our face mask, our pass interference. You're having delay of games. You're having false starts. You're jumping off sides in huge moments in big games like Will Anderson in Texas. You are making the mistakes that you can control, and that has been the antithesis of what Alabama has been. Alabama has been a team with better players than you that plays more disciplined than you. That is not the case this year.
Well, and what about Tennessee? Hendon Hooker now making a Heisman run himself. The biggest win of the Josh Heupel era easily, and one of the biggest wins in the past decade plus for Tennessee. And now it has become a 2-horse race. It's not Kentucky, though. Kentucky has, they did bounce back against Mississippi State, but they've looked underwhelming. Certainly Tennessee looks like a legit contender now.
Yeah, with Kentucky, they weren't going to be as explosive as they were last year because Wan'Dale Robinson was gone.
Right.
They have some young weapons that are nice. Chris Rodriguez is nice, but hell, Wan'Dale's out there scoring touchdowns for the Giants right now. He made a lot of things right last year with Will Levis, and then the South Carolina game, Levis doesn't play, and offensively they just had absolutely nothing. Look, with Tennessee, Hendon's the most dangerous hooker since Eileen Warnos, man. I mean, the dude's a killer in that offense. The biggest thing is, Tennessee is doing it without an elite running back or really an elite running game outside of Hendon Hooker running. That's something I would not be shocked if you just see people start to, kind of play a little bit like teams play against Mike Leach in the air raid. Because, in fact, there's a lot of similarities to that. You're going to have to prove to me that you're willing to run the ball 8 to 10 plays down the field, and you can be effective that way when you see this light box. I'm not going to let you just dink and dunk and then hit me over the top going fast. So it's an unbelievable win for Tennessee. I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for the SEC. And, guys, I think for the first time in a while, the East may be better than the West.
Wow.
At least up top. I don't disagree with that because they have Georgia and Tennessee. Alabama, we'll see how they respond from this loss, but everybody else in the West seems kind of jumbled. Arkansas broke their losing streak going to BYU. They had lost 3 straight. I know you were very high on the Hogs, as was I, to start the season, but they've been struggling. This LSU team has been perplexing. They get a win on the road at Florida. This is going to be kind of a fork-in-the-road game with Ole Miss. It's basically considered a toss-up. I think LSU's favored by 1.5, Jake. What are your thoughts on LSU hosting Ole Miss?
I mean, this game has massive implications, especially with Alabama having 1 loss in the conference now. Because remember, guys, Ole Miss and LSU both host Alabama before the season's out. So the winner of this game has the tiebreaker over the other one and then gets to play Alabama at home to possibly clinch the West, especially if Mississippi State loses on the road at Alabama this weekend. So the ripple effect of this game is huge. I will say, if I'm an LSU fan, I am over the moon at seeing Jaden Daniels push the ball down the field last game. That's been the one area, even Brian Kelly came out and talked about it, that they haven't been effective, and teams have been playing them short and low. That's why it seems in every intermediate pass somebody's there. That's why it seems in the run game there's 13 guys in the box. Hell, there practically is. Now that there's that threat vertically down the field, I think Jaden Daniels is the best playmaker and most dynamic playmaker on either offense going into this game. It's at home at LSU. I like LSU in this game right now. My mind may change, but Ole Miss, I think, is a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think that Kentucky this year with Levis is die at Ole Miss. And we're going to find out this weekend who can really take that next step and set themselves in a position to possibly win the West. And right now, guys, I like LSU. I would like LSU at home versus Bama this weekend, honestly.
Wow. Auburn fans have to be sitting here, as much as they criticized Bo Nix for the up and down performances, he goes out to Oregon. And if they win this weekend, if he has a okay performance, he's been still kind of a roller coaster a little bit out there, but he's been able to put together some good games. He could have Oregon atop the Pac-12.
Boy, Bo Nix made good in that trade, right?
Yeah.
Bo Nix to Oregon, Robbie Ashford to Auburn. Now, Robbie's still young. We'll see what he can do down the road. But it's amazing what happens when you go out and play in the Pac-12 number one, and then you have an offensive line and an offense that isn't totally incompetent in a pop-up book when it comes down to passing the ball. I mean, Gus Malzahn was writing an Eric Carle book with the passing offense at Auburn. I mean, ask Anthony Schwartz, Seth Williams, any of those guys out there. I mean, if people knew what routes they were running, that's one of the reasons Gus isn't at Auburn anymore. But I'm happy for Bo. It was a toxic situation at Auburn. I mean, you guys know that as well. Glad to see him have some success. And, I like UCLA this weekend. I don't trust Oregon's young defense. UCLA's playing a physical brand of football. I love Charbonnet, who, can you imagine if Charbonnet stayed at Michigan and they had him and Blake Corum in that backfield with J.J. McCarthy? That would be hell on wheels. But I like UCLA in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting. And how under the radar would that be? Because this is a UCLA team that really should have lost to South Alabama.
Oh, believe me, I know. Heck, South Alabama right now, the way it's shaking out, maybe the top group of 5 team in the country when it comes down to it, man. Coach Womack and them down there doing the Lord's work. But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, whoever's going to win this national championship, guys, when you look around the landscape of college football, is the team that's the most balanced. And we say that, and it's common knowledge. But in the past, I mean, you look at Georgia last year with an over-dominant defense and an offense that was just good enough. But we've seen teams with elite offenses, whether it be 2010 Auburn, whether it be 2019 LSU, whether it be 2020 Alabama, with good defenses, not great defenses, that were able to win the national championship. That's the biggest question I have about UCLA and Tennessee is Byron Young's a star for Tennessee, but do they have enough? Does UCLA have enough on defense for those 1 or 2 games here down the stretch where the offense isn't clicking on all cylinders? They got to step up and handle business and win a low-scoring game. Can they do it?
Jake, at this point last season, we basically penciled in Alabama, Georgia, pretty much for the national championship. I mean, that was the direction we were going. They were head and shoulders above everybody else. Is it a mosh pit right now to see who gets to that point right now at this point in the season? I mean, do we have a front runner?
I think you could make the case for 3, maybe even 4 teams, which is great to say, considering we've watched the same movie over and over again, it seems like in recent memory. You look at Clemson, I just don't see a team in the ACC outside of maybe if North Carolina gets really hot on offense, but their defense is so bad, and DJU's playing better. So I think you can pencil Clemson in. Ohio State or Michigan, one of those teams, I think both are going to be undefeated when they play each other at the end. That game's at Ohio State, so put Ohio State in. Then you're going to have at least one SEC team in. The question is, what is UCLA, who's undefeated, going to do? What is TCU, who is undefeated, going to do? Would they let a one-loss Michigan team, who their only loss is to Ohio State, in over a one-loss Tennessee team, whose only loss is to Georgia, in? So then you have Alabama still hanging there. So you can make the case for 3 or 4 teams, which, like I said, is a great change-up from what we've seen. So I don't think we have a clear-cut front runner. I think we have 3 or 4 teams that could all make that claim right now.
No, yeah, that's going to be very interesting, no doubt about it. And as Jake said, he likes UCLA on the road at Oregon. He doesn't trust their defense. Is there another under-the-radar game you're kind of monitoring this weekend? I know you guys, you take a look at the money aspect of it. You guys are sharps. What's another game that we're kind of maybe not talking about that you're interested in?
Well, Oklahoma State's a 6.5-point dog at home against Texas, and look,
that's interesting. Yeah,
I think Texas is a good team, but Oklahoma State's pretty good on offense. I mean, they lost Jim Knowles, their DC, to Ohio State. You're kind of seeing that effect a little bit. And a few guys they lost off that defense last year. That's one. And then I tell you another one that doesn't have a ton of national implications from a championship standpoint, but it's going to be interesting, is A&M at South Carolina. This is a huge inflection point for both of these teams. For South Carolina, this could be the difference between 7-5 and 5-7. For A&M, this could be the difference in people wanting to set Jimbo's house on fire that much more. And South Carolina's never beaten Texas A&M, so that's an interesting one to watch as well. You know, Ohio State plays Iowa. I mean, Iowa couldn't score on air right now, but a team to keep an eye on that's really fun to watch if you just love football is Illinois. I mean, Chase Brown.
We were talking about them,
yeah. Underrated players in the country. What Brett Bielema has done at Illinois has been outstanding. They're looking like they're going to battle it out with Purdue to see who's going to play either Ohio State, Michigan in that Big Ten championship game. So there's some really interesting games across the board this weekend. Not all have to be ranked to be interesting.
Yeah, Brett Bielema back where he needs to be. He's more comfortable in the Big Ten. They're playing really good football there at Illinois, and that's not an easy place to win, but he's certainly doing a great job there. Well, Jake, we appreciate the time. Great takes as always. Let everybody know how to follow you guys' show and what you got going on with Crane & Company the rest of the week.
Yeah, well, if you like football in general, just go to YouTube, type in CRAIN and Company. We had David Pollack on today talking everything from coast to coast, college football, Major League Baseball, NFL. We even gave the NBA a couple minutes like anybody really cares. And then, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. We got Tom Luganbill coming on tomorrow talking some more college football, so come check us out.
Thank you, Jake.
Appreciate it, guys.
Let's get that. Yeah, he's making fun of Iowa, rightfully so. Iowa's only scored 88 points this season.
The whole season.
Tennessee scored 52 in one game.
Well, I mean, there was over 100 scored combined.
Right, but I'm just saying that Iowa has scored 88 this whole entire season. It would take us 3/4 of the year to score 50 points in a season.
So is it going to get ugly in the shoe?
It's going to get ugly. Iowa can't score. They can't score, and the defense can only score so much.
And one time the defense was outscoring the offense early in the season.
Illinois' defense is so good, Iowa only scored 6 points.
Wow.
Ohio State, I'd have to think Ohio State has a better defense than Illinois.
Yeah.
We're going to get negative.
And at least Jake did bring up that underrated Thursday matchup with South Alabama at 5-1 and Troy at 5-2. The winner of that game, big-time contender for the Sun Belt Conference Championship. John Summerall's team has really responded, Scott, since that just gut-wrenching heartbreak against Appalachian when they should have beaten the Mountaineers in Boone.
Well, there's a team. Appalachian had all that pub coming out of that Texas A&M game, and now we don't hear much about them. That doesn't make Jimbo feel good.
No.
I got to get a break.
That's always great.
SEC basketball talk when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a wreck coming out of Limestone County, 72 eastbound near Newby Road. Got County Line and Old Highway 20 coming in as a no injury. 565 eastbound west of Research Park. It's about across from Slaughter Road. That one had some minor injury, but nobody's going to the hospital. Southbound Hudson Memorial Bridge, they've had the right lane blocked up by a wreck there. Popeye's tender, juicy, hand-breaded chicken would be great for tailgating, and you can score 5 pieces for only $6.99. Popeye's University and Jordan, 72 in Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Southeastern Conference Commissioner Greg Sankey is coming to the Huntsville Museum of Art on Thursday, November 10th. He will sit with Abraham Madcore, the executive editor of Sports Business Journal, for an interview about issues in college football, such as conference realignment, playoff expansion, and name, image, and likeness. This event is part of the museum's Voices of Our Times series, dedicated to bringing in experts in the arts, entertainment, politics, and sports. For more information, visit hsvmuseum.org.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Southern Fidelity Mortgage. Think of them as a loan for everyone, offering more products than anyone else and the guaranteed lowest rates and costs in town. Of the 2,000 loans that Southern Fidelity Mortgage has pre-approved over the last 10 years, all but one have closed. That's unprecedented in the banking business. For FHA, VA, rural development, and conventional mortgages, for the best mortgage experience in town, it's Southern Fidelity Mortgage.
Call Southern Fidelity Mortgage Company at 256-656-5936.
After a long, hot summer, there's nothing quite like the cool, crisp mornings of fall in Huntsville, Alabama. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's time to get out there. Whether it's hunting, camping, boating, biking, or kayaking, we've got the F-150 to take you there. It's truck month at Woody Anderson Ford, and we've got 2022 F-150s in stock on the lot, ready for your driveway today. And with your good credit, get financing as low as 2.9% for up to 60 months. This offer ends 10/31. Being the best-selling truck in America for 44 years in a row is no small feat. But I promise you, if you come drive an F-150, you'll understand. Woody Anderson Ford has nearly 100 F-150s to choose from and lots of colors and option packages. One of these is right for you. Truck month at Woody Anderson Ford. Exceptional deals on all our trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. And a great selection of Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles. Woody Anderson Ford, corner of Jordan and Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
Flow Trampoline Park is your one-stop fun spot for your next birthday party. Whether you're a boy, girl, kid, or adult, Flow has you covered. Party packages allow up to 25 plus guests, so you'll be able to bring all of your friends. And with all the fun competition to be had at Flow, maybe enemies too. Party packages will give you access to 60 minutes of jump time, grip socks for all guests, a private party room, and a party coordinator. Flow is behind South Parkway and Drake, behind Cracker Barrel. For more information, go to flowhuntsville.com. Get jumping with Flow.
This will turn journalism on its ear.
Watch our stream on WZZN TV on Twitch and YouTube.
But you are the greatest hero in American history.
We are 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, SEC Media Basketball Days ongoing in Birmingham. The women's side of things tipped off yesterday. The men's action all tips off today. The media predictions are in for SEC basketball. Kentucky tabbed as your SEC champion.
Not surprised.
Tops in all of the SEC, followed by Arkansas, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama. Those are your top 5. Texas A&M 6, Florida 7, LSU 8, Ole Miss 9, Mississippi State 10, Missouri 11, Vandy 12, Georgia 13, and South Carolina 14. Those are your expectations or media projections coming out of SEC Media Days for basketball.
Interesting, and it's going to be fascinating to follow Alabama and Auburn. I know they both speak to the media today over in Birmingham. There was the women were at the podium yesterday, but Bruce Pearl's team, is going to look different. No Jabari Smith, no, certainly Walker Kessler, but they've still got Johan Traore, the big time transfer. Actually, I take that back because he never really enrolled at LSU. He was a signee, and then they fired Western Union, and then he ended up at Auburn. And then the transfer, of course, being Jonai Broome from Morehead State. So they got two new bigs in there to replace the